All right, everyone. We have the University of Pittsburgh with us this morning. Two outstanding coaches coming from some really incredible backgrounds, actually. And it's cool to see building out my momentum just how many of these intersecting lines there are with people who've already posted stuff on Connect and having former interns move on to new roles, assistant roles and head roles at different places. So we have both Brenna and Aaron with us today. So first of all, I'd like to kind of hand over the mic to Brenna and ask her to introduce herself, followed by Aaron, maybe talk a little bit about your own developmental journeys in the field and maybe tip your hat to a couple of mentors that you've had along the way.
All right, my name is Brenna MacDonald. I'm very new at Pitt. I just came from the University of Kentucky. But my transitioning journey began actually in Wisconsin. So I started at University of Wisconsin Oshkosh, worked and got to learn under Steve Brown, who does a phenomenal job up there. And then headed to Iowa after that, where I got to work under Bill Maxwell and Zach Walrod, who did a great job of really preparing me for my next step, which is then Kentucky. And at Kentucky, I was there for 5.5 years. I began as a volunteer unpaid intern, worked my way to a GA spot, and then eventually to an assistant strength conditioning role, which I actually just left in January to then come join the staff here at Pitt.
Awesome. Love it. Aaron, go ahead.
Yeah, so kind of bounced around a little all over the place. I'm not quite as new as Brenna to Pitt here, but I've been here for only about 6 months or so. Spent 3 years prior at Mississippi State, and then before that had a few internships, University of Texas, Clemson, Cal State Fullerton, and LSU Shreveport. So been kind of all over the South U.S. and then just plopped up here north about a half year ago and been loving it. I think I was really fortunate going through a lot of those earlier years through several internships and an entry-level full-time role to have a lot of really good mentors, a lot of really good people to kind of help steer me in the right path and right direction for, what I felt, or as I kind of tried to find, what my, environment that I wanted to be in really was, as far as the staff I wanted to work with, teams I wanted to work with, and role that I really wanted to encompass. And I think I've been really fortunate, especially in my last two locations here in Mississippi State, that I've had someone like, our director here, Stephanie Mock, that has kind of given me the liberty to, play a couple different hats and, fill different buckets than, maybe just, the autonomous strength coach, but get a few roles outside of that. And I think that's kind of fed into, a lot of the responsibilities I've enjoyed at other internships that I've had, Rick Bransbaugh at Texas, Rick Bransbaugh at Clemson, the whole staff at Texas, Cal State with Will Otto's now at Penn State. Great experiences, great people, and really fortunate to be here and now trying to help mold the minds of the next bit of great people.
Good stuff. You're originally from the Southern United States, right?
Yeah, from Louisiana. So way out of my element
up here. Yeah, big jackets up north.
Yeah,
that's good. No, cool. Brenna, I didn't know you were from Wisconsin originally. That's cool. It seems like Wisconsin is a breeding ground for strength conditioning coaches. I feel like there's a lot of S&Cs coming out of Oshkosh and lacrosse and such. So that's cool. Good stuff.
There's some hidden gems of programs up there for sure.
Yeah, awesome. Really, really good. Okay, so let's get into the details about Pitt then. So obviously you guys reasonably fresh, just like you said, at the University of Pittsburgh, but kind of revamping things there and looking to bring on different intern coaches in different roles. But obviously the video recording today is more so strength conditioning facing. So Aaron, I wonder if you could talk about the current intern coaches that you have in the program. What does their typical weekly schedule, their responsibilities, requirements kind of look like? Can you break that down for us?
Yeah, I think it's, I can speak pretty globally, but I think at the end of the day, we want to try to cater to as much of the individual as they can as far as, schedule or external requirements go. We've had, whether it's here or at another school, we've had, interns that are with us, full time from when the doors open to when the doors close. And we've also had interns that were students at school that try to come in between classes or that need to have a part-time job that maybe we can they may not get the full experience of that open to close, so to speak, but we can try to figure out a few teams that their schedule really aligns with, that they can get integrated in and be a familiar face for those athletes. So I think as far as like expectations and responsibilities for our interns, we up front, and I'm sure Brennan will touch on this, but we dive pretty hard into just the logistics and practices of what our interns kind of need to have as far as hey, here's how you carry yourself, here's how you coach these movements, here's how you can help with these lifts, and really try to front load, I think, the first part of their internship with like, hey, here's like what will set you up to be successful moving forward for the rest of the semester. And we want to make sure we do a really good job of that because we put a lot of pride in our internship and that curriculum, and the people that we bring in. And I think it's a cliche, but still kind of true that we try to operate as much of a family atmosphere as possible, and our interns are absolutely part of that family. So we don't see them as below anything. They're a part of our staff and part of that family. So make sure we do a really good job on the front end to let them know, like, hey, here's kind of how things run and how you can be successful, so that hopefully along the way throughout the semester they can gain a little bit more responsibility along the way. A big key that we always try to tell them is execute the small things really well, because if you execute the small things and gain trust, we're only going to want to give you more and more. And then by the end of the semester, you're someone that we just can't live without, and hopefully want to hire on to one of our fellow positions, or we're calling other people to try to get you whatever the next step for his or her personal career is. So responsibilities are going to include kind of the typical things like just helping up with the setup and breakdown of each lift. We don't want our interns just to be kind of the bystanders of watching a lift kind of go by. At first we'll try to coach them into like, hey, just listen more than anything, like hear the cues that we use, see the way that we interact with our athletes, learn the athletes, get to know them before you start maybe coaching them through anything, and really have a fervent effort on doing that first. And then as they gain trust from us, as we want to give them more responsibility, they're the ones that can be leading the warm-ups, running smaller groups, taking maybe some return to play athletes or one-on-ones that have class conflicts or something like that, to again get them as integrated as possible. We don't want this to be an experience or them just have the responsibilities of like, okay, it's you're the janitor and that's it. Like we take pride in the people that we bring in, and we take more pride in how they are after they leave. So the curriculum that we give them, to as far as a knowledge and practical application standpoint, give them certain topics that we believe are going to help them elevate to whatever their next respective step in their career is. And then of course getting all the experience, working with the teams that we have. And we're fortunate that we do have quite a bit of athletes running through our weight room day to day, regardless of if it's fall, spring, or summer. So we definitely have a good group that run in, and want to make sure that we have a good group helping run things as well.
Absolutely, love to hear it. No, it's really clear from looking at your Connect page that your program is focused on the holistic side of being a strength and conditioning coach, and not just necessarily being an X's and O's person. But you have modules on leadership, and obviously Brenna's probably going to touch on some of these things in a second here. But yeah, it's great to see. I totally agree. You want to be able to help mold young, impactful coaches that, just like you said, by the end of their internship, you're like, how can we keep this person around? Because they're now starting to do things autonomously that really add value. I have a couple of current intern coaches right now who are just that. I'll go out there on the floor and be like, we need to do this, and this. And like, we've already done it. It's already figured out, which is great. So, and it's nice to see that. I love the concept of the fellow position, because there's like upward mobility for them there. And whether that's like a conscious or subconscious motivation to them, they can see that that's potential for them. So they are going to give that attention to detail for sure, which is really cool. Good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think historically with our staff, whether it's here or elsewhere, it's a comforting thing to be able to hire someone that does a great job, that understands the system, and that the athletes love and respect too. And we want to make sure that the people that we have, fit that mold, whether it is end up being that they stay here and elevate into a fellowship spot, or again, that we feel comfortable that, if we're talking to other people that we know in the field that may have an open position, like, no, this person's a rock star, and you got to have them because they're going to kick ass for you.
Right. Yeah. I think it's a frustration of a lot of young coaches when they're starting out, to understand that if you're submitting a cold application to somebody for a GA position or an assistant level position, if they don't know you, then you're going to be, it's going to be much harder for you to get that role. But intuitively, it makes sense, right? That you should, if you know somebody, if you know, trust, and like them, you're much more likely to be offered an opportunity because you've already checked that box, and that's a big box to check, especially in our industry. So, yeah, totally agree. Good. So, Brenna, I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about what Aaron just touched on there in terms of the actual internship, the coach development program, the kind of things you guys discuss and cover and educate your young coaches on, and maybe any unique aspects you think this is something that we really hang our hat on, and I think we do a great job of.
I think the really cool thing about Pitt right now is that everything in Pitt athletics is on the rise. We kind of finally just assembled our staff. We have a lot of people with a lot of different backgrounds, and now we're finally coming together and being able to pull from all of these experiences and these great programs we've all been a part of to create this big internship. So it's definitely something that I see continuing to grow every year and get better every year as we start to fine tune that. But like Aaron said, we want to start with the basics. We're going to teach that work ethic. We're going to teach that, ability to do everything, the small things right, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. Once they get through kind of a week of expectations and just, meeting people here and understanding networking and understanding the flow of how we do things, we'll start with on the floor coaching, take them through coaching drills, they're getting assistance with our teams. We have a lot of athletes that will stick around in the summer, especially, but then even the other semesters, you get a lot of opportunities for experience on the floor. So there's real-time feedback within our real teams. And then there's also feedback that we can go through some different coaching drills and give them direct feedback on what they can do better and how they can improve. With that, I think, like Aaron touched on, one of the unique things that we have is we're building a sports science program. So it's definitely something that while, this internship is focused on strength and conditioning, you get a really unique opportunity to add some of those technology components to your resume. You get a really unique opportunity to understand what is the working relationship between sports science professionals and strength and conditioning like. And if you are going to a school after this where it's, you are doing both roles, then cool, you've had some experience with that. If it's a situation where you do have both departments, then you've seen them work hand to hand and you understand how that operates. So definitely getting experience with those technologies, how to operate them, and then even kind of those next level conversations of really how to utilize these to best help your team. And then on top of that, it is a strength and conditioning internship. So we're going to go through programming. We'll go through some lectures. We'll go through programming projects and different things designed to teach, each intern what the basics of programming are. And then depending on the level that they're at, how can they get better and how can they learn more? And we'll touch on kind of what we're looking for in people. But like Aaron mentioned, if we have someone that came in with a bunch of experience and someone without that much experience at all, we can definitely tailor it to where those people are at, because maybe somebody's not ready for that super high level conversation of programming, but then somebody else is. So it's kind of ranging to the group that we'll get in, but we have a whole curriculum lined up with just focusing on that programming and periodization. And then also too, I think it's really important that your stuff as a strength coach and that you can write the world's best program. But if the program is not going to work if your kids don't buy into it and if you don't have that connection with your athletes and your sports staff. So leadership is going to be a big component that we add in as well, where it's, working on relationships, working on how to lead yourself, working on how to lead others, and working on how to be a part of a functional staff. Because like Aaron said, we are a family, and sometimes you have to learn how to best operate and best contribute to that family. So that'll be a big part as well. And then finally, whether you are someone that's applying for a fellow spot or you're applying to other jobs, you need to be ready for internship interview prep. So prepping for jobs with your resume and cover letter and mock interviews, or prepping for something internal, that all takes some time preparing for. So we'll go through different things. They'll get a chance to get feedback on both resume, a portfolio, and interview skills. Make sure that they feel prepared to rock whatever they're going to apply for next.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think one thing you touched on there with the sports science piece, and obviously you mentioned this is a strength conditioning facing internship, but even though there are more universities and institutions in the country, just like yourself, who are integrating sports science into the department, whether that's because of an academic program on campus that you can pull and draw from, or they're actually truly creating a new department. It's not necessarily right now commonplace. And so a lot of strength conditioning coaches, as we've all experienced, the sports science falls on the lap of the strength conditioning coach and will continue to do so. And I think rightly so in many instances. And I think it's important then that, just like you said, they gain exposure to using those technologies so that when they are on that interview call and, let's just use LSU as an example, LSU's calling and they say, hey, we saw that, Pitt is using, I don't know, do you guys use GymAware? Is that right?
Yes.
We see that Pitt's using GymAware. We're thinking about getting GymAware. What can you tell us about it? That young coach can say, well, here's what I think about it. I've learned it I've used it in these 3 different contexts. Here's the pros, here's the cons, here's the assumptions, blah, 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 blah. And they actually have like a critical opinion on it rather than just being like, oh yeah, they have it at Pitt, but I never used it. I kind of saw them using it on the side, so I think it's important that they have that. And I know for a fact, kind of moving on to a different topic as well, I know for a fact with Coach Stephanie Mock that she is incredibly well connected and really, really hungry to develop herself, and that only filters down. So it's great to see you guys having calls with, Jonas Stodu and various other different people to bring in external practitioners for other people to, these intern coaches to hear from. So yeah, I love what you guys are doing. I think it's an exemplary way to run an internship program. So that's great. Good stuff.
I think to add to that, if I can, we have our internship curriculum, but like Aaron said, there's no hierarchy. So as we do those staff calls, or even as we full-time are learning and developing and going through different professional development activities, our interns are around that. So they're both getting exposed to the basics, but then they're learning alongside us, and they're hearing those names that we're learning from, and they're really getting kind of both sides of the development that we're hungry for, but then also what we have laid out for them to get those big rocks taken care of.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, exactly. Pull them in, open door policy the whole time. That's great. That's really good. Aaron, moving on a little bit with obviously you being at Mississippi State prior to coming up to Pitt, maybe you can touch on a couple of the intern coaches you're around developing there, obviously with only having 6 months at Pitt, but maybe there's a few you've already interacted with at Pitt as well. In terms of successful intern coaches that you've been around in the past and helped to mentor, can you touch on the kind of characteristics that you see successful young coaches having, maybe some commonalities and maybe 1 or 2 that stand out as being this person differentiated themselves in this way, so that young people who are watching this video can kind of get an idea of how they can separate themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great question, and something that, if when I was a young coach, if someone could lay out like, hey, like do these 3 things right or so right off the bat, and that'll make you one of those successful interns. I know I definitely would have appreciated. I don't think that it really boils down to like who comes in and has the most like book smart or the most letters behind their name. Like degrees and certifications definitely help. They're tools in your toolbox, but I think the most successful interns that we've had, whether it was here at Mississippi State, or the ones that are, I think number one, the most socially adept and have good social agility and understand how to talk to a head coach or an athletic trainer when they come into the weight room, and knows how to ask questions and be involved in those discussions that we have, whether it's continuing ed or just bullshitting as a staff. Those that understand where they're at developmentally, but still have that desire to want to integrate themselves within the staff, whether it be through asking questions, giving feedback, or just being present in whatever we're doing. So that social agility and navigating conversations with staff, whether it's us or other staffs, is really important. I think someone that isn't afraid to get out of their respective comfort zone, or that their comfort zone is just so small that it's maybe tougher for them to be uncomfortable. I know, like, speaking for myself as an intern, one of the hardest things is, okay, you may have like 5 months that you come in and like shoot, I got 5 months to learn an absolute ton. And I also have to, uh, to some extent, build a relationship with hundreds of athletes, the coaches I work under, make an impact through whatever project maybe I'm working on, or helping the staff develop. And doing all this in such a short time frame is it's definitely tough. But those that can handle that, and one, handle that load, but two, aren't afraid to be uncomfortable with like their floor presence. That when the time comes that we say like, hey, I feel like my warm up plenty well enough, like go ahead and lead it for this team we have coming in, or hey, take this small group of athletes that have a different workout than the rest of the team, and let me see how you coach them through it. And those that like really want to take that and run with it, rather than like, oh shoot, okay, and then like you just kind of see that nervous bit, which I think is definitely not uncommon, but at the same time is something that we want our interns to be excited about, and to be able or for them to be able to kind of showcase like who they are, how they coach, how they communicate with athletes. So bringing it back, that social agility, someone that's not too afraid to get out of their comfort zone, and someone who we've said it already several times, but that has and it sounds cliche, but really has a desire to further their development and their education. I think the C word for us is complacency, and where we all may feel like there may be one or two areas of our field in strength conditioning or sports science, or like, yeah, I feel like I really got a grasp on this. Know that there's always someone smarter, someone doing something new or something better that we can still learn from, and someone with an open mind that wants to genuinely use that open mind to continue to learn and develop. I think when, again, it doesn't really matter as much like, what the knowledge base is coming in, as much as it does like the, I guess, desire to grow that knowledge base while they're with us. So, I think back to, for more or less like the rock stars that we've had that have gone on to, project themselves into higher roles, and they're the ones that are excited to be there, know that it's what they want to do, they love it, they love to learn about it, and they make themselves, and we welcome them in as, again, just part of that staff, that family. So it's not all about what you know, it's about what you want to know, and how you interact with the people around you. Definitely important. So we always love when it's like a tear rolls down my cheek when we have an intern finish their internship, and an athlete comes up and is like, where's so and so? Like, oh, they got a GA position somewhere else, or like, oh, they're working at this other school now, and they're like, what? Like, oh man, you got to get them back here. Like, what are you doing? Something that's always really encouraging, whether it's athlete or staff too. When we have our coaches come in, and they love, like, we've been an intern now that just had to warm one of my teams up for a game while I was out of town, and coaches love it. Like, that's really comforting to see, and I think sets themselves up for a lot of success, just when they're generally have that attitude towards what they're doing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think being that social chameleon is super important, and having them interact with as many different student athletes as possible is important too. Another thing that you mentioned there is like, I feel like a lot of younger coaches coming in, especially if it's their first experience or maybe their second internship they've had, they still have that nervous demeanor about them. They almost have a bit of imposter syndrome. Their age difference isn't huge compared to the other student athletes. Maybe you have some graduate student or transfer students who are in there, and their thought, naturally speaking, is just going to be, this person knows way more about what they're doing than I do. So like, who am I to tell them what to do or to coach them? But kind of getting them out of that mindset and saying, integrating them just like you guys do, saying like, you're an extension of our staff. So like, the sooner you start acting like an assistant, the sooner that's going to happen for you. And giving them like safe environments to stumble and fall a little bit and realize that, oh yeah, it's not the end of the world if you screw up. It's about learning from that and kind of pushing forward. So that's awesome. Good. Okay, Brenna, wrapping things up here then, in terms of, obviously we're recording this what is it, end of February in 2022, but you're looking for summer intern coaches, but in general, keeping things reasonably broad. What are you typically looking for? I don't know, Aaron's just touched on a couple of characteristics there of prior successful interns. But in terms of Pitt and the internship program that you're looking to run there, what are you looking for with applicants who are applying to Pitt's strength and conditioning?
I think on the tangible side, they need to be working towards a degree that relates to strength and conditioning. They need to be working towards their CSCS or their CSUCA certifications, and then they need to be first aid certified. Those are really the tangible things. And then outside of it, Aaron just touched on a lot of the intangibles: willingness to learn, someone that wants to be here and wants to get better. Like we said, we don't really care where you start. We're happy to be that first thing that gets you rocketed and launched into this field. So as long as you are working towards those things, degree and certification wise, we'll take you where you're at. We'll help grow you and get you started in this field that we all love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome. I love it. Well, thanks so much for your time, guys. Obviously, if anyone's watching this video, this is going to be on Pitt's Connect page. So all the information is at the bottom of the page as to how to apply to a role with Pitt. A question that I think I should start asking, and maybe we'll do it with you guys in the future, is like, if you were a current intern coach now, knowing what you know about different departments and people around the country, where would you want to go and intern at the moment? And I think for me, my top three are going to be, from what I've heard so far and seen, is like Clemson, Kentucky, and Pitt, with the staff that you guys have there and what you're trying to build. I think you got an excellent program. I'm sure you're going to get a ton of interest, regardless of this Connect page. I'm sure you're getting a ton of interest already. But I'm just really pleased to have you guys kind of on board and contributing to what I hope will be an improvement to the profession, allowing these young individuals to make better decisions about where they're going to spend their time and who they want to kind of develop under. So I appreciate you guys, and we'll have this page up very soon for you.
Awesome. Appreciate you, Stu. Yeah, thanks so much for putting everything you do together. You're definitely pushing your end of this connection of everything with my momentum, and it's been awesome, and glad to be a part of it, and appreciate you talking to us too.
Of course, you're very welcome.